Welcome to the IRS Solution Attorney Show. If you have problems with the IRS, don't focus on the negative, focus on the solutions. With the IRS Solution Attorney, Darrin T. Mish. For over 15 years, he's been helping taxpayers with IRS problems reclaim their lives and their financial stability. Now, here's your host of the IRS Solution Attorney Show, Darrin T. Mish.
Good morning and welcome to the IRS Solution Attorney Show. I am the IRS Solution Attorney, Darrin T. Mish.
It's him, I promise. He's got a little bit of a cold. I'm your co-host, Katrina Madewell. Welcome to the show.
My cold is so bad that as I hear my own voice through my headphones, it doesn't sound like me. You know, you already have to get used to your own voice, right? But I've got this Barry White thing going on, and
Yes.
I'm drinking hot tea, and it's just not really working all that well. But Katrina's here to, bail me out if it all goes bad.
And normally we have like our outline of the show, but today's going to be just a little bit of a rogue, off-the-cuff show. What do you think about that?
Sounds scary, actually, but, I trust you, Katrina. We've been doing this for quite some time. So she sprung this to me on the way to the station today. She says, Darrin doesn't know it, but we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Just like, what is going on? He almost did a U-turn and like turned around and went back to somewhere else.
The comment was, ruh-roh.
So Pat George is having a little bit of eye foo-foo going on today. So Mark Charles is back there filling in for him.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for producing the show. So, yes, if you're listening to the traffic, which is non-existent this morning, that's Mark Charles back there giving you the details on news and traffic.
So what is the deal? Why isn't there any traffic? I have a theory. I think it's the kids are not in school. Is that Mark's shaking his head? He thinks that might be the case as well.
Well, Hillsboro's out.
And on top of that, a lot of people are gone for vacation already for the holiday.
But they travel to see family. Think about it. Tampa, most people are not from here like me.
Aren't there like a few 100,000 extra people from, Michigan and stuff here?
It's also notable to say today specifically is the heaviest travel date all of the year. Today.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
the skies are full.
Well, there's Michigan people here, but they're already here. They're not driving anywhere, Darrin, at the time that we have to leave to get here to do a 9 a.m. show.
That's true. You're not going to the mall at 7 in the morning, I don't think.
Well, some places like Kohl's is open 24 hours already.
I was at Best Buy in Brandon yesterday. I had to go, get a gift, and that place was blown up. I mean, it was crazy.
Was it still busy?
It was so busy. There was not a spot in the parking lot. And that's a big store.
Yeah.
And it was like standing room only in the store, too.
I'm really late this year getting to my Christmas shopping. But last night, I didn't really want to go because it was late and I was already tired. And I had to get up early today to do the show. But I went to Walmart and I'm like, all right, I'm going to finish my shopping. So
You're all done.
I'm done.
That's
great.
great.
I'd like to get one more thing, but if I don't, I'm done.
I don't normally even go to stores to Christmas shop. I've been an online shopper for like 10 years.
Because Heather does all the work. Are you kidding me? Know the truth.
My wife does all the work, period. But anyway, so this year I waited a little too long, and I'm a rabid Amazon guy, and they're sold out of everything. And the fact that Sunday is Christmas falls on a Sunday, really jacked up my last minute, shipping and all that. I know they ship. Well, they're not going to deliver on this Sunday, but
actually, they were not Christmas, but Christmas Eve they'll be delivering a lot.
Well, good luck delivering a package to my home. You know what the UPS driver does is he throws it over the fence, and it's in the wilderness even when it lands on the ground. So. Yeah, that's not a great thing.
Okay, so you want to hear something funny with the Prime Amazon shopping online? So I ordered a Fire Stick for somebody on my list, and literally they were out of stock on the Fire Stick. It was back ordered. They're like, sorry, you're going to get this after Christmas. I'm going, are you kidding me? It's like the signature thing for Amazon.
Okay, so some of us don't know what a Fire Stick is.
Yes. Okay, so you don't know what a Fire Stick is?
I have no idea what a Fire Stick is. It sounds like something that you light fires with that perhaps is a stick.
Sounds illegal.
Exactly.
Are you kidding? Are you joking?
No, I have no idea what a Fire Stick is.
Okay, so Fire Stick is like, have you seen the Roku and like the Apple TV and that kind of stuff? Okay, so the Fire Stick is Amazon's version of like Netflix, sort of, with a whole lot of extra stuff.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I've got one of those. But I've got one of all of those.
You have it, you don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I have one. I don't use it because the other ones are better. But yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know. It's debatable. It's debatable. Because I have the Chromecast, too.
Sure.
But the Fire Stick,
Apple TV is kind of cool, too.
Well, my neighbor did a little bit of magic on the Fire Stick, and now it does all this stuff.
I have one of those boxes. They're probably illegal. This little box I bought at a home show.
I'd stop there.
And, and you can watch everything that has ever existed. So there's this Disney movie called The Song of the South, and it's been banned for,
it's
I don't know,
banned?
it's been banned for like 20, 30 years because it's so politically incorrect. It deals with slavery and whatnot. And you cannot buy that film from Disney. So in my mind, that was like the test. If The Song of the South could come across this box, not that I care about the movie all that much, but if I could get that movie on this box, that meant the box actually worked as advertised. And the wife and kids and I sat down one night and we watched the entire Song of the South on the box for free.
And what is that? Apple TV?
No, it's like this. I don't even know what it's called. It's like
Something else?
it's like an Android thing that goes out into the internet and just looks for. I don't know if they're bootleg
Well, you're
copies
kind
or
of like
what,
me.
but-
You want to do it just to see if you can get away with it, just because it's
They're
not
doing-
even about the movie.
They're doing the same thing with that Fire Stick, they call it. And by the way, I don't suggest or condone, but it's called jailbreaking it. And the people are buying the Fire Sticks for like $30 or $50 or whatever the case is. And they're going and they're Googling how to. And next thing you know, they're opening up and stealing from all of these rich actors.
Ah, fascinating. I think the Fire Stick's probably an Android sort of device.
Of course it is. You're going to say that because you have an iPhone. This is like the great debate in my office.
No, I'm not saying anything bad about the Android. It's just Amazon uses Android stuff. So it's probably a jailbroken Android.
That's what you think.
Droid
It's a jailbroken Android. All right.
Well, you jailbreak your Android, you're going to be breaking out of jail.
Yeah, tech geeks, we want to hear all about that, if that's actually true.
Yeah, how
because-
about Apple or Android? Call it. We want to know. That is the debate, right? Apple or Android?
What's the
Oh,
best
boy.
tech? Let's like do a segue into tech stuff. What's the best tax write-off, Apple or Android? I know, hands down, Apple. They cost more. Better tax break.
Yeah, and there's never any sales on them. That's ridiculous.
That's true.
I once had Siri on an internet radio station I used to run, actually right out of this building. Her name is Susan Bennett. She did all the voiceovers for Apple for the iPhone. And come to find out in the interview, she was never paid royalties, was never given any free phones or anything like that. She was used as a regular voice actress. Susan Bennett's the name.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the voice and the concept is still used. And she got nothing out of it but her flat rate that she charged as a voice actress.
Yeah, I actually know Susan, and I've also heard her
We
tell the
chatted
story
with her.
that she didn't even know until
That's correct. She had no idea what she was voicing for.
until Siri came out. And she's like, "Wow, that's
Cla-
me."
that's-
I'm Siri.
Classic Steve Jobs move right there.
yeah.
They could have at least named it after her. Don't you think?
Could call it Susan.
I
instead
bet
of
it's a
Siri.
different voice now because I've heard the series lately. I seriously doubt it's her. Plus, you have all the new recordings. So how is she going to record all the new stuff, right? So it's got to be a new person.
Yeah, but Susan Bennett's got a classic voice. I think she's the voice of AT&T, right? And remember back in the day when we all had AT&T or MCI or whatever long distance company. Her voice was, welcome, or what did it say?
I don't know, but I know
I think
what
it
you're
said
talking
"Welcome to AT&T" or something along those lines. And she has a classic voice. It's just on a lot of big products.
Not that I wanted to keep talking about this because we do have some cool stuff to talk about, but I think it's hilarious. I don't know what the guy's name is, but he's in the black suit now with the yellow bandana. He used to be the "Can you hear me now" guy at the V company, and now he's with the S company. It's pretty like, wow. I guess his contract was up. They must have paid him more.
It's something happened where, he was like, "Pay me more," and they're like, "No." He's
So
like, "Okay, I'm leaving."
So, well, if you want to chime in, feel free. Like
Chime in
I
about
can be
the
your target.
nonsense that we're
Darrin, no.
talking
What
about.
I'm going to say next: 888-404-1010, 888-404-1010. And the reason why I thought it would be a good idea to hijack the show today and kind of go this direction, which Darrin probably totally wants to kill me, but we're going to do it anyway. Last week, if you're familiar with the show and you've listened for any period of time, you know that almost every week at the end of the show, Darrin will do what we call the train wreck of the week. And so with the train wreck of the week, it's where someone comes into the office, you talk about their hot mess, how you fixed it, and, what the resolution was. And obviously it's going to be different for every single person. So Darrin posted this train wreck of the week
On Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook in his IRS Solution Attorney page. And the comments were off the chain. Like, you've had a lot of people. I'm just going to pop on over here and look at his laptop. There's been a lot of comments, and I want to talk about some of these comments on the air.
I usually post the train wreck stories both on my personal feed and on my IRS Solution Attorney feed. And actually, the most vitriolic comments were actually on my personal feed. There was one lady that was so upset with me. I actually had to ban her and block her. It just was like a little bit too crazy.
But I think, that's the point, though, right? Like, and we'll talk about maybe some thought process behind that. And I really wanted to read the comment, which I'm clearly going to have to do after the break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about this elderly gentleman. Short story is, elderly gentleman came in, owed $2-point-something million bucks. Settled it for $50,000.
Settled for $50,000.
So
Took 3 years.
That was the short version of the story. Yeah, it took 3 years and a whole lot of work. But when we come back, I'll read the actual post, and we're going to read some of the comments. And if you would like to chime in because you're hanging out at home today and you didn't have to go to work, you can call us at 888-404-1010. 888-404-1010. Again, save that number. Mark will let you know if there's any traffic issues. 888-404-1010. Back in a moment. That's right.
This is actually a song that I posted in response to a bunch of haters that I got from this particular post. Love this song.
That's what the haters gonna hate. It reminded me of something that my daughter posted on Twitter. It was something really cute, like her boyfriend had a sign or whatever, and he asked her to prom with a sign. And all these random people, like, I don't know if they're high school kids, like in another area or whatever, just posting all this stuff, like this mean stuff on Twitter. So kids have a totally different, like, they just grow up different than we did growing up. And my daughter was like so upset about it. She's like, I'm going to take it down. She was crying. I'm like, no. I said, don't you dare take that post down. I said, that's exactly what they want.
Wait for it. There it is. Little holiday shuffle.
That's right.
So just in case you're joining us for the first time this morning, welcome back to the IRS Solution Attorney Show with a little Taylor Swift bumper.
Because the hater's going to hate.
And I love Taylor.
And so I'm your co-host, Katrina Madewell, and I usually try to keep the show real and fun. And when Darren's not feeling up to it, I shake him just a little bit and make him have some fun.
Quick little trivia. I actually had the benefit of going to the Grammy Awards twice with my wife. And Taylor, that was back when Taylor was actually country.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so being kind of a contrarian, you know, the Grammys is kind of like a pop, R&B, rap sort of show. And then there's like this little tiny country component because, like, we can't leave them out because then it's not really all music, right? So I decided that I was going to the Grammys in my country, or in my, in my country tuxedo, my cowboy tuxedo. I wore a black hat one year, a white hat the other year. I wore lizard skin boots. And it's really wild. You see all kinds of music celebrities in the audience and at the after party and whatnot. And on both occasions, people walked up to me and asked me who were my clients. Like I was an agent. One guy asked me, he says, so where's Zach? And I was like, and this was when Zach Brown was kind of new. And I'm like, Zach? He says, yeah. And I said, Zach Brown? He goes, yeah. And I go, I don't know. I haven't seen him. But the cool thing is we were all seeing at the, what's the name of the hotel down there? We're seeing at the Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. And Zach Brown and Leon Russell, who's now passed away, they came back to the bar, and we partied with Zach Brown and Leon Russell in the bar at the Roosevelt Hotel after the Grammy Awards.
Now that would be
very,
fun.
very, very cool. But that was when Taylor was actually country. Taylor's not really country anymore. She's more of a pop star.
That's how they make their segue in, don't you know? You got to follow them. They're either, the Disney kids that were like Disney actresses, and now they're a hot mess, like Lindsay Lohan, or...
I think
like look at the Olsen twins. Have you seen, like, I got People magazine in the office, and there's one of the Olsen twins, like, literally laying up on the rail, like Bad Babysitter or something. I don't even know.
Aren't the Olsen twins like 37 now?
Are they that old?
No.
They're not that old.
No, because I'm 31, and they were still little like babies, and I was 4, 5, 6 years old watching her. So she's got to be younger than me.
So yeah, they're like latter 20s.
Unless that was makeup
or
baby
or reruns.
Reruns. All right, so let's go back to this post. Let's talk about this. So last week we shared a post where Darrin helped a client. It took him more than 3 years, right? So there's a backstory behind all of these stories that we share, which are true. But the guy was an older guy, 70s?
He's in his 70s for sure. He's not in great health either. Doesn't have a lot of income potential left, actuarially. Yeah, that's the fancy word.
Well, he's certainly not in his earning years of his life, and he's in his 70s.
He's not in his prime earning years. But the funny thing is that I'm kind of stuck in my own little bubble, like a lot of us are, right? So I can't even really fathom me posting a story about helping a good, honest person out of owing the IRS $2.2 million.
It doesn't happen.
I can't even really fathom other human beings being upset by that. So it's really interesting to me. I don't take offense. Like if people post nasty things, if people take offense and post nasty things, I don't really. It doesn't
roll off.
Yeah. I mean, I know what I'm doing, and I know I'm doing good. Most of the people who are posting nasty things it's out of jealousy.
That's what I told Katrina earlier. I said that sounds like bitterness coming out of people that just couldn't pull off what you pulled off. And congratulations on it, by the way. I'm not a hater.
Plus, there's a backstory that you're not at liberty to discuss on the air.
There's lots and lots of personal
you
facts.
still have client, attorney, privilege, confidentiality stuff that you have to follow.
Yeah, I can only give you so much detail so that you cannot identify the actual individual.
But it's a generic story,
so
right?
But it's a true story. It's just not got a lot of details.
So this guy owed $2.2 million in back taxes.
And about $1.6 million of that was unpaid payroll tax. So here's how that happens, and that sounds really bad, right? I mean, if you're just a layperson and you don't really live in this world, you think, wow. He racked up $1.6 million in payroll taxes and he didn't pay it? Well, here's what happened is he was running a pretty good sized company and he had a lot of staff, evidently, to rack up $1.6 million worth of tax liabilities. And here's what a lot of business owners do. It's not necessarily the right thing to do or the best thing to do, but here's what a lot of guys do is they keep their employees too long. Even when they aren't able to pay the payroll taxes, because they think they're going to turn it around, number one.
They should let them go sooner.
They should let them go sooner. But I can tell you that I have experienced this personally, is when you're having cash flow problems as the business owner, you start to think about your employees first and how many people they support from the money that you pay them. So it's not just like firing one person. If you lay off one person, that's going to impact their family of four. And so on and so on and so on. And if you're a business owner listening to this, because I know I've experienced it, I've paid my employees and my support staff before I paid myself and not taken a paycheck so that I could pay them. Yeah, for sure. And I think most business owners who've had staff have done that from time to time. If they're honest and good people, that's the way to do it is you pay your staff and you pay their taxes before you take any money. But there comes a time as the business owner when you can't do that.
Well, you dug his holes deep, and you don't know how to get out. So he ended up owing $1.6 million in payroll taxes and about $600,000 in income taxes over a fairly long period of time. He was peripherally involved with real estate. I can't recall if it was development and in construction or if it was investment. I don't really recall, and it's not even that important. But a lot of those people got hit really, really hard in the collapse. So when the real estate market collapsed, I mean, you got this guy and he's left holding the bag. And he owes $2.2 million to the IRS and with no clear identifiable way to pay back any of it or any significant portion of it. So let's read a couple of these comments because one of the ones let's tell the punchline here, okay? So real quick. It's gonna hate. Real quick, I started out the negotiations with the IRS by offering $754. Now, this was kind of funny because when I got that initial call back from the person at the IRS who was going to, decide the first part of the case, he literally told me he was mad at me. And I kind of laughed because I kind of expected that reaction, and I knew this particular gentleman pretty well, and I literally laughed. And the reason I laughed was that wasn't intended to be my final offer. That was intended to be my starting offer. So then he and the IRS employee and I negotiated out a settlement of $25,000. And that was to go up the chain and be approved and be finalized. And it came back, and the government said $25,000 wasn't enough. I didn't necessarily agree with that decision, but that's what they decided. And so we appealed and we offered $50,000, and we ultimately sold it for $50,000. So let's talk about also, because I know we won't have time to get into all the comments, and we've talked about this several times, and this is one of the things that I posted, and I thought I was posting it as myself, and then I realized that it just said the IRS solution attorney. I'm like, all right, I can't let Darrin take heat for this, so I'm going to post my name right below it so people know that it was me posting it. But so people are posting all this stuff like, oh, your client should be in jail, right, and all of this stuff. So let's talk about that for a minute because, I mean, how does that make sense that the client should go to jail? Because they want them back in the system. They want them to start paying taxes again. If you put them in jail, we just offered to support them with nothing contributed back to society. Don't be hating. How does that make sense?
So I'm not going to call the people who posted those types of comments ignorant, but I'm going to say those were ignorant comments. You understand the distinction?
Yes.
The people are not ignorant, but those are ignorant comments.
Well,
those are
ignorant
uneducated
means you're not
comments.
educated. You don't know. It doesn't mean you're stupid.
Yeah, so those are uneducated, ill-advised comments. I did the research, and it costs over $31,000 per year to put one inmate in the federal prison system. So according to that line of thinking, we should take an old man who owes $2.2 million to the government, and we should put him in prison. Well, how long should we put him in prison? 5 years? 1 year? 10 years? Like how long? Judge, jury, and executioner? How long should he be in prison? And if you, Mr. Judge, jury, and executioner, have trouble paying your taxes someday, do you still advocate that you should go to jail?
I think if the roles are reversed, it changes, right? Like there's I think, what is it, an Eminem song talking about walking a mile in my shoes, right? Like that's the same thing. It's a cliche. Like, yeah, it's easy to condemn somebody, but they don't live in a glass house. And if they were experiencing that, they would want a little bit of grace.
The great news is we don't have debtors' prisons in the United States. And actually, a lot of the immigrants that came over to the colonies originally fled England and Europe because there was debtors' prisons. If you couldn't pay your debts, they would throw you in jail indefinitely. And a lot of the colonists came over, and they were actually indentured servants because of their debts that they owed back in Europe. And they had to work off their debts over a period of years, working on plantations and farms and whatnot here in the United States.
I think as Americans, people tend to forget that your ancestors are from somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost every single one of us. Even Native Americans are from somewhere else.
Exactly. And so people flock to this country because we're so liberal, right? And we have so many rights, and you can say whatever you want. Unfortunately, I mean, there's good and bad in that.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, I'm for one glad that we don't throw people who owe taxes in jail.
So when we come back, we're going to dive into some of these comments. I'm going to read them on air exactly. And if you want to comment, you can hit Darrin up at Twitter at Darrin_Mish.
Or on Facebook, just like we're talking about at the IRS Solution Attorney.
And we will be happy to read your comment on the air and debate it with you. If you want to call in, we're at 888-404-1010, 888-404-1010. We'll be back in just a moment.
Are you suffering from IRS problems? Do you owe back taxes you can't pay? Is your paycheck or bank account being levied? Or maybe you haven't filed tax returns in years and simply don't know what to do. This is Darrin T. Mish to tell you that if you're tired of IRS problems hanging over your head and are ready for a fresh start, we may be able to help. Call the law offices of Darrin T. Mish at 888-GET-MISH, 888-GET-MISH. I can help you file old tax returns, work to release tax liens or stop wage levies, even negotiate deals to pay off back taxes at a discount, sometimes for pennies on the dollar. Hey, let's face it, these days it's not hard to get into tax trouble. A divorce, failed business, health problems, you name it. The point is, IRS problems may be solved if you're willing to take the first step. Call for a free consultation at 888-GET-MISH. That's 888-438-6474. Or go to the web at getirshelp.com, because the one sure thing is, IRS problems don't solve themselves. So get Mish. 888-438-6474. Principal Office, Tampa.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. A jingle bell swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing bushels of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun.
Welcome back. You're listening to the IRS Solution Attorney Show. We're glad you're here with us today. We are live today in the studio, which may not be the case for the next couple of weeks, but we're live right now.
Might not be.
So if you want to call in, we're at 888-404-1010. We're happy to chat with you. We are streaming live on my Facebook page. Actually, I will share this over at the IRS Solution Attorney Show. Today's whole show was prompted by the post that Darrin wrote, and he's going to give you a little recap just in case you missed it. And then we're going to read a few more of these comments as promised.
So the recap of the post on Facebook on the IRS Solution Attorney page was basically that I had, it was the train wreck of the week last week, where I basically had a client that owed $2.2 million, and we ultimately were able to get it settled for $50,000. The backstory is that the gentleman in question is in his 70s. I can't remember if it's a mid or to late, but it's definitely mid at least. And so the point being there is the prime earning years of his life are essentially over, unless he lives to be 135. And as I recall, he's not in great health. And then his finances are a wreck. And that's one of the reasons why the IRS decided to take the $50,000 instead of, holding out for the $2.2 million. Katrina, another point that we haven't brought up in this particular case, and part of the backstory is that there's a 10-year statute of limitations for the collection of the tax anyway, and this has been ticking by.
There you
go.
So
the IRS didn't even have the full 10 years. As I recall, they had about half of it left, maybe 5 years. So what are the prospects of the IRS, getting back, collecting the full $2.2 million from somebody who essentially is unemployed with no assets? And the time is ticking. So I guess those same people who are aggravated would be proponents of no statute of limitations. If you owe the government money, then you're just going to owe it until you die, and then your estate's going to pay it. And interest and penalties rack up at the tune of doubling every 7 years or so, and that's just the deal.
So
until they get audited, in which case they come to me and say, "Is that really what what happens?"
I wish we had more time to post these things, because I would have loved to have not poked the bear, but asked some more of those thought-provoking questions so that we could have a better conversation on air. So let's get into a couple of these comments, Darrin. So one of them's like, "Oh, your client should be in jail." So, and we talked about that before the prior segment.
Yeah, and the downside to that, or the counterpoint to that, was it costs over $31,000 per year to house a federal inmate, and so the guy already owes $2.2 million, so you would be a proponent of jailing him. So let's say the average person who was a proponent of jailing him wanted 10 years. So now you're going to spend another $310,000 for jailing this guy for 10 years. To what end? To scare the rest of us to pay our taxes? Well, this was a gentleman who couldn't pay his taxes no matter what.
So another comment that you got was, some people should be placed in the no settlement bracket. Write-offs for smaller guys like this one is okay. I needed you when I owed $20,000. I could have used that money. So let's talk about someone that owes $20,000 compared to $2.2 million. Big difference.
When I read this particular comment, I really don't understand it, but I do understand that he's saying that I owed $20,000 and I didn't
get the money,
and I didn't get a deal, and he didn't think that's fair. And I would tend to agree with him that that's not really fair. But remember, an offer in compromise works like this. They take your monthly disposable income, multiply that by 12, add in the value of your assets, and that's the amount of your offer. Now, there's a catch to this formula that I just gave you. And the catch is that, the exception is if the IRS could collect that money within the life of the statute of limitations based on that monthly disposable income, then you don't get a deal. They just want the monthly payments. So here's what this means, folks. Bigger cases are easier to settle because of this exception. So I've settled a few, $25,000 cases this year, and I don't take very many for offers, at least, because they're so hard. I have to prove in order to settle a $25,000 total liability, I basically have to prove that you don't have more than about $100 a month left over. That's pretty tough sledding.
Well, we talked about this too on the show, and I brought it up. $20,000. Let's face it. If your kid had some rare disease and you had to come up with the money for the cure, and it was $20,000, you would find that $20,000 pretty easily.
I'd be out there picking up aluminum cans.
$2.2 million, big difference.
Yeah, there's a huge difference.
Big difference.
Between $20,000 and $2.2 million. And I actually loved working on this case because it was such a huge problem. And I think most guys in my business would not have taken that case. Just too big, too scary. But really, when you boil it down, you take a couple zeros off that case. It's the same case.
Right.
It was all about the zeros. And in some small part, it was easier than the $20,000 case.
So another post that you had too says, so I'm a sucker for paying literally tens of thousands of dollars a year in capital gains taxes when I could hire this lawyer to try to scam everyone else who pays their taxes. Well, first of all, I want to comment about this as an agent. And if you listened to Tampa Home Talk last week, you would realize that literally you can escape capital gains taxes forever. And you're exempt if it's your primary residence under certain thresholds, but and it's owned for 2 years. But let's say, it's an investment property and you sell it. You don't have to pay capital gains taxes. You're getting ill advice. I mean, you can use a 1031 exchange to your advantage. It's there for a reason.
Based on the sentence structure and whatnot of this particular post, he's probably not getting advice.
I don't think so.
He's probably, just doing things on his own, which is fine. I want to point out something really kind of quickly that's kind of funny to me, and that is that the way the Facebook algorithm works, the more engagement you get with a post, the more people will see the post.
Yes.
Okay. So the reason that I keep laughing and we keep playing the bumper music of haters gonna hate, hate, hate is because haters are helping me because they're engaging with the post, which also means, by the way, they're more likely to see my stuff. But then I get access to all of their friends too.
Which might have a tax problem.
Odds are have a tax problem. So over almost 7,000 people have seen this post so far. And the more, people kind of get aggravated and want to fire off at me, the better. Like it's all,
Yes.
the more the merrier. So bring it on.
So Claudia posted, and I don't think she's listened to the show, so we'll make sure we take this live Facebook stream and post it in the feed so that people can actually see it. But she says, I don't understand. So we can actually offer the IRS an amount that you want to pay in taxes instead of the amount they claim we owe? She's like, wow. Sign me up.
Sign me up as your client. It doesn't work exactly like that. So going back to that formula, and I know it's not easy to hear, but it's monthly disposable income times 12 plus assets equals the amount of the offer. So I'm going to give you an example. If you got $100 a month in disposable income, 100 times 12 is $1,200. Let's assume you have no assets. Yes, Claudia, you could offer $1,200. And if everything falls in line, you could settle that case for $1,200. Now, if you're like my client and you owe 2.2 mil, I don't think we're going to get it done for $1,200, even though that's what the formula says, because this guy's formula said $754. But the
IRS is like,
the ratio was so off there that they decided to reject it initially based upon public policy. Now, what does that mean?
Which that's probably why the IRS guy was mad at you.
Yeah, exactly. So what does public policy mean? Well, the IRS has to publish the raw data for all of these offers every year.
Where?
Okay?
Where are they publishing
this? Like in the Federal Register, someplace where nobody ever reads. Okay, but they have to publish it. It's the taxpayer names are not public, but the results are public. And what happened was that $25,000 offer that we thought we were going to get through, that it was so low, they were like, no, we don't want to deal with the blowback from that offer. It's too good a deal. And so that's why we doubled it to $50,000. And I did the math. I think it's like a couple pennies on the dollar. But a couple pennies on the dollar is better than a couple tenths of a penny on the dollar, right?
And let's face it, your guy likely, to have this tax problem for so long, I'm sure he doesn't easily have $50,000 there. He probably had to sell some stuff.
Absolutely. He had to borrow the money from somebody who has faith in him that he's going to be able to pay it back, which is some kind of really good friend, right? And this was not money he had hidden under the mattress or whatever.
And that's hard. Like, can you imagine that? If I said, hey, Mark, I owe $2.2 million to the IRS. Can you lend me $50,000 because I need to pay it off?
Yeah, I'm going to need 20 points every month on that one, though.
Then who knows? Maybe that's the deal he made. I don't know. But
so let's go back to this. So I had to post about the 1031 exchange and avoiding capital gains, which is absolutely legal, by the way. It's completely in the tax code. And if you had good information, it would, again, I think the guy is ill-advised that posted this. So he responds back, which we just actually saw this morning. He said, the gentleman that owed $2.2 million in tax liabilities ended up coughing a mere $50,000 and is thrilled he can get on with his life. Well, I'm sure he is. I would be, wouldn't you? He says, if I was able to scam off with well over $2 million, I'd be pretty thrilled as well. Of course, we want them back in the system so they can start collecting taxes again. But how about some time in prison system first? And what's even more disturbing is that the gentleman in question probably complains about poverty-stricken jobless folks getting a few $100 a week in layabouts sucking off the public.
okay, so
my faraway vision is not good. I'm just saying.
The funny thing about the post
Neither is that person's, apparently.
Yeah, the funny thing about the post is it sounds like this gentleman's a proponent of large government programs. Okay, I think we can infer that, and that's fine. He's entitled to that sort of an opinion. But the $2.2 million is not a drop in the bucket of anything.
No.
The way our federal government wastes money, it's completely insignificant. Never mind, it was always uncollectible. Okay, it was completely always uncollectible.
You should post that little. Remember the ticker we had going one day that showed the federal tax? That you should just put a link for that in the post.
The national debt clock. It's like 19 trillion and counting. Yeah, Pat put it up a couple weeks ago. Right next to my face, I have this monitor, and he decided he was going to put it in gigantic right next to my head, so I couldn't miss it.
So this guy, instead of squandering the rest of his life, whatever time that is, and maybe 20 years, maybe less, who knows, he actually has a chance to start over. Maybe start another business, learn from what he did wrong.
Yeah, just not to mention, I'm no bleeding heart. I mean, if you're a regular listener to the show, you know I'm a big proponent of individual responsibility. I'm sort of the escape hatch for bad decisions here, at least with regards to tax problems.
And Darrin has said multiple times, I don't want repeat clients because that means you didn't learn anything.
Yeah, I really don't want repeat clients. It makes me feel like a personal failure because you come to me stressed out, anxiety ridden. You've made one of the biggest mistakes you've made in your life, and I get to partner with you to fix it. I do not want reruns. I will take you if we have to, but I don't want reruns because it does mean that I failed you. At least that's how I take it.
Have you had an instance where your reruns, you're like, something a little different happened? You ever felt that way?
Yeah, for sure. And when I used to do criminal defense, if a person, I would get them on probation, and then there would be a violation of probation, and then there'd be a second violation of probation. A lot of times I wouldn't take that second case.
Well, there's always the bad news bears, the ones that all the drama follows. Like, we all know those. You probably have one of those people in your family. Don't even lie about it. You know you do. All right, you're listening to the IRS Solution Attorney Show. We're having a lot of fun with that live stream that you guys got going. Keep those comments coming. You can call in. We'll take your comments, your suggestion, or your heat at 888-404-1010. 888-404-1010. Thanks, Mark Charles Backett, for doing a great job on the show this morning. We'll be back in a minute.
You can find us where the party's at. This is how we roll. We hang around singing down everything on the radio.
And I must say, this is probably one of the most fun shows I've ever had with you, Darrin.
Yeah, Pat George. Just joking.
Well, we didn't do it from an outline at all. Like, today was, our outline was the crazy Facebook stream and the feeds and the rogue questions.
That's right. Man plans and God laughs. Man doesn't plan and everyone else laughs with us. Right?
Exactly. That's kind of how it seems like it works out. It's better to have a fallback plan if things don't work out. But today has been fun. And you know why? It's because it's real. This is like real life.
It is.
There are really people who are aggravated that some scumbag lawyer, such as myself, has been able to help out a good, honest person who owed $2.2 million to the IRS and had no way out.
Did he use the word scum? I think
no,
he did.
I interjected. No, I interjected that just for
he might have.
Just for a little flavor. I thought I'd throw that in there, and that's partly our fault. Our fault.
Yeah, that's our fault.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Our fault.
Wow. That's even better than a real one.
I gotta tell you, like a year ago, Darrin could not have laughed about that.
I thought you were going to say about a year ago, Darrin couldn't stop. But anyway.
No, he would have been like crawling under the table in like sheer humiliation, where I can trip over my own words and laugh about myself and keep on moving.
I don't know. He's turning pretty red right now.
So, as a profession, it's our fault because we aren't real and we don't say things like fart by accident on the radio.
Or in the courtroom. That would be great.
Yeah.
Your Honor, it was not his fart.
I said some pretty outrageous things in the courtroom, but moving right along. I can't even remember what I was going to say other than, there are people who are mad that this guy was in big trouble and I helped him out. And I love the fact that they're mad because it's just all publicity is good publicity.
And I'm not the attorney, Darrin is, so I can say things that you can't. But I mean, these are really your right wing, just mad at everything people, I think.
No, I think you got wrong. I think it's more left. I think it's more the left wing folks that are mad.
The liberal crazies.
Because I'm going to say.
Well, when's the last time a conservative burnt a American flag or attacked voters? And I ride the middle. I'm not either, but let's just be honest. The liberals are acting out more than the.
And they are, and I think they are.
I
That's
said
my
it for
opinion.
you, Dan. You wanted to say it, but you just didn't say it.
Well, here's the point I was going to make.
People should have that opinion. People should say, I'm going to vote for somebody based on my livelihood, like based on what's best for me. So for me, I'm going to support people that support homeownership and homeownership rights and all of those things. And that's exactly who I should be voting for. Because it's my livelihood. I'm not going to vote them because they're Democrat or Republican.
I think Darrin was trying to get a point out.
So the point I was going to make is that the liberal folks tend to always think there's some, imaginary rich guy who really pays all the taxes. And so I think this particular gentleman that we talked about most today, I think he's mad because this imaginary rich guy being my client should have paid that $2.2 million, and that would have made everything better. That would have housed X number of children or whatever, some theoretical social program. But the reality of the situation is they were never, this guy was in hardship status, which meant we were just running the clock out. The IRS was going to get $0. So instead, the Treasury got $50,000.
How many years was he actually into that?
I think he was about halfway. I think he was about 5 years in. And so, they had about 5 years left, and he was just gonna end up beating all of it. And so
Gerardo Luna, he's watching. He was my show photographer for a long time when I was at HNZ, and he's posting stuff.
I'm being heckled electronically on
Yes,
social media. So we're on the Facebook Live feed. And
he said he was there with you for your first show.
Yeah, he was. And that was not my actual first show, but that was my first show as your guest.
For me,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think my hair is quite as thin. So the camera here for the Facebook Live is right above my head.
I tried to fix it.
And that's what he's making fun of. He's saying I got old. Yeah. Either that or my voice. I'm not really sure.
Well, he has a cold. So, to his credit, he does have a cold. So let's see if Mark Charles is back there on cue. It's about that time.
Oh, yeah, no, we're about ready to do the train wreck. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah,
I'm trying to put the elements over here together. But the train wreck is definitely a go right now.
It's always kind of cool when I'm not the one screwing up on the show.
Yeah, or farting.
So it is about that time. It's the time for the IRS train wreck of the week. This is the segment of the show where I get to talk about somebody who owed $2.2 million to settle for $50,000. No, but that's a different story. Today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit odd. And it's kind of exciting. It's bad in a way, but it's going to turn out fine. Trust me. So I had a client, or I had a nice couple, owed, I don't remember. I'm just going to throw some numbers out. They owed like $50,000 or $75,000. I don't really remember. And we did an offer and compromise for them. And I think the payout was about $20,000. So it was a good deal. It wasn't a smoking deal. It wasn't 2.2, $50,000 on 2.2. It was like $20,000 on like 50.
Makes it go away.
So it was still a pretty good deal. And these folks, I don't know how, but they scraped up the money, the $20,000, and they paid it to the IRS. And they paid it to the IRS within the time frame allowed. They had 5 months, and they paid it off in about 2 months. About month 3, we get a letter from the IRS saying, you have not met your terms and conditions. You have not made the payment. And if you don't prove that you've made the payment or make the payment, we're going to default your offer, and you're going to owe us all the money again. So I diligently got involved. I sent them copies of the checks. I even sent the IRS copies of their own transcripts showing that they had the money. Okay?
Right.
Month goes, and I think it's over. I send them a certified letter. I'm thinking, oh, surely they're going to fix this. It's so obvious that even an IRS employee can tell what's going on here. Well, that's not what happened. A month later, I get a letter that says, well, since you did not pay the money, your offer is going to be terminated, and now you owe us all the money again.
Wait
so
a minute.
long story
they
short,
paid the money.
I've gotten the taxpayer advocate involved. She can see they paid the money. We're going to get that offer reinstated. But this, folks, is why you need counsel to help you when you're dealing with the IRS. It's like Alice in Wonderland over there.
Why did they do that?
What happened is they put the money, that second big payment they made, they put it on the wife's Social Security number in the IRS. The IRS computers are so bad they cannot match a husband and wife's Social Security number.
Well, you're listening to the IRS Solution Attorney Show. You can get Darrin at 888-GET-MISH.
GetIRShelp.com.
And we're out.